Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tank12, however you call me, I don't really care, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today we're going to be reviewing or just taking a quick look at the SU-85I, and this is a very interesting vehicle, historically speaking and also gameplay-wise speaking. This is a Tier 5 Soviet reward or premium tank destroyer. And this vehicle was just previously in the October Tank Rewards box. If you reached level 5, the last stage, you were able to pick either the AT-15. No, wait, let me guess. Let me reiterate that. You were able to pick this tank. You were able to pick a Tier 6 premium and a Tier 7 premium. And I think the Tier 7 was the 1815A, and the Tier 6 was the Swedish medium tank, if I'm not mistaken. I did own both of them already, so I decided to go for the SU-85I. That was my priority from the get-go. I wanted to get the SU-85I from the beginning. Why is that? Because this vehicle is very rare. It's very unique. Previously, it was only sold as a bundle tank, so you had to pay like $100 to get the vehicle and 25,000 gold. Now, obviously, since the Christmas boxes, you know that that is a very bad deal. Just wait for Christmas, grab like pay $100, get like 75 boxes, and you'll end up with more gold than 25,000 most of the time. I don't know what it's going to be like this year around, but most of the time you end up with more than with just buying the $100 25,000 gold bundle. So this vehicle was not available in any other form, shape, or way. So most people did not go and buy this tank. I'm a tank collector. I looked at it, but even for me, that was way too much money. I would not pay that much for a Tier 5 premium vehicle. On the other hand, though, now that I've finally got it and I've had my 2-3 games in it, I can say that it is a pretty damn interesting tank. So before we go into the stats and the characteristics and the gameplay and the conclusion, let's talk about the looks of this vehicle. Do you see something weird happening here? Do you notice something that should not maybe be a part of a Soviet tank? I probably just gave it away right there. If you look at the tracks and the hull of the vehicle, doesn't it remind you of some German tank? Maybe a Stuck 3, which is based on a Panzer 3, because this is actually a symbiotic relationship right here between a Soviet tank destroyer, the SU-76I. No, actually, it's the it's going to be the SU-85, obviously, but it's basically a symbiotic relationship between a Soviet tank destroyer and a German tank destroyer or a German medium tank with the Panzer 3. It's the Panzer 3 hull mounted with an 85mm gun, which is basically the main armament of the SU-85. If you know about that vehicle, you probably have seen it somewhere before or played it in World of Tanks. And all of that is welded together in this little tiny cabin on top, and it looks super weird. It looks like it's a super small Panzer 3, but the Soviets made it instead of the Germans. It has an 85mm gun, which is pretty damn impressive. The Tier 5 SU-85 also has the 85mm gun. We can check if it's the same. It is not the same, because if you look at the... let me just get out. If you look at the SU-85, this gun right here does not boast the same kind of damage or the same... Well, it does have the same damage, but it does not have the same pen. So right here, along with the creation of the SU-76I, there were attempts to mount an 85mm gun on the captured Panzer Kampfwagen 3 tanks. The vehicles never entered mass production or saw service, but they maybe they built them. Wargaming is not very specific with the details right there, but I mean, it's super interesting to see how they're mixing tanks together left, right, and center. There are like also the KV-1. The Germans refitted it with a 76mm gun, and then you had like a incredible good chassis, great hull with a very, very competent gun just imagine if the Soviets had access to that at the beginning of the war. The German army probably wouldn't have made it as far as they did with the standard KVs that they had. So what's special about this tank? It is a tier 5 tank destroyer. It has a lot of ammo. If you look down here, it carries a lot of shells. For a tank of this size, it carries a lot of shells. Just look at it. It carries basically 70 shells. That is amazing. That's crazy. That's so much ammunition. You can kill anything with this tank with 70 shells. You can basically kill the enemy team all by yourself. Almost. So your average damage is 160 since it's the 85mm gun. You have 119mm of pen. The top gun of the SU-85, which would be the main comparison to this vehicle probably, has 144mm. So yeah, keep in mind it's only 119 versus the 144, but you have a crazy rate of fire. You have a rate of fire of 16 rounds almost per minute. That is a 3.8 second reload time on this gun. That is crazy. Now you can also fire gold. Okay, I'm not going to be judging, but the gold right here has, I think, average pen of 161. So 161 versus the 119, that is 50mm increase almost. Well, actually, it's only a 40mm increase since it's 120 almost. But still, you can see, carry some APCR rounds for some thickly armored vehicles. That is certainly something that I would advise. It has a gun traverse speed of 46.93 degrees per second, so your gun arc is rather limited. It's only 10 degrees to the left, 10 degrees to the right. So yeah, your gun arc is not very good. Neither is your depression. Your gun depression is only 5 degrees. Your gun elevation is 25 degrees, which is quite interesting though. Your aim time and dispersion values. The dispersion is 0.39 at 100 meters. So at sniping, you'll see that this vehicle does tend to miss several shots, and that has to do with the lack of accuracy on this gun. If I remember correctly, the SU-85 was a rather accurate kind of tank, and it does seem to me that it is rather accurate. Right here you can see it has 0.34 instead of the 0.39, so that's almost 0.4 dispersion at 100 meters, while that thing is almost 0.6 dispersion better than the SU-85I, but you still fire 6 rounds per minute more than the SU-85 can, and if you have that mid-range engagement, well, that rate of fire is definitely going to come in handy. 2,528 DPM, that is what you expect of a rate of fire of 16 shells per minute, and we'll see that in the gameplay afterwards. So survivability wise, this tank has 500 HP, so yeah, good luck with that. It has, I think, gotten the HP increased by 150. I think it used to be 350, I'm not entirely sure though. 60mm of armor on the front, 30 on the side, 50 on the rear, which is rather interesting in my opinion. But yeah, this tank does not cope well with being fired at. If you look at the vehicle, it is very, very boxy shaped. It's a German tank with basically a little tower slapped on top of it, which they call kind of the chassis and the hull. At least it's closed and not open topped, so that the artillery and small arm fire and planes cannot shoot into your vehicle. But still, the 60mm of armor is not going to hold up. I've been one-shotted by an M4 I think several times now, so keep an eye out for that. That is one of the reasons why you're not supposed to be aggressive with this tank. But if you're on Himmelsdorf, you have no other option than to go into that city. So yeah, mobility wise, this is exactly where this tank shines. 50 kilometers per hour top speed, and it only weighs 24 tons, so it's a very light tank destroyer. 54.03 degrees traverse speed, so this vehicle does get around. It can turn fast, it can run away rather quickly. It doesn't accelerate as quickly though. 50 kilometers it can reach, but it takes a while to get up there. So if you want to change positions, be sure to know exactly when you want to go and get that time in to see how long it will take you to get there. So, you know, plan ahead. It's very important in the tank destroyer. Plan ahead, plan your next move. Same with every other tank basically, but it's very important in the tank destroyer because you have not a lot of HP. So, Concealment. This is exactly where this tank is going to be shining. You can see I have 813 points. That has mainly to do with the crew and with the equipment that I'm using. But if you do take all of that away, we can actually just compare this vehicle to itself. And copy for comparison. We can just configure it without Concealment and without that in there. And you can still see that the vehicle has pretty good capabilities in being concealed. 443 points, but if you do have that, if you're a stationary vehicle, you do get massive points right there. And the vehicles, the enemies at tier 5, especially tier 5, tier 4, they will not be able to see you. Yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Concealment is extremely important right here, and this tank comes with some pretty damn nice concealment out of the get-go. If you get a good crew on it, if you get some equipment on it, you'll get some better concealment as well. Then spotting, I do have binos on this. This tank certainly doesn't have the best view range. It's a tank destroyer. I don't expect it to have good view range. Let me check. No, I didn't want to check my own statistics. I wanted to check my view range, which is the stock view range. What is the stock base view range of this vehicle? So yeah, we just have to compare it again, and we're gonna do that right here, and we're gonna cut them out, and we are going to take out the binos. So the stock view range is 349. Okay, that is with situational awareness. It's 337 on this vehicle. So yeah, this tank does not see anything. It's basically blind, so put something on it if you are sitting in a bush somewhere far away. At least binoculars. Unfortunately, you cannot just take them away anymore. Thank you, Wargaming. Thank you for that. But you can still detach it if you use one of the, you know, demounting kicks, or you spend 10 gold. Yeah, bloody Wargaming. That was their plan all along, to get us to waste all of our money on the equipment tab. But what does it look like when you're playing this tank in a game that is against tier 5 vehicles? Okay guys, this is the game that I've chosen to show you guys what this tank is about and why some people might have paid quite a bit of money to get it. In my opinion, it is in no shape or form like extremely overpowered. It is extremely good though in the hands of a very capable player. And this was my second game, and this is one of the reasons why I do not play low tiers, and you'll see the reason exactly displayed in this game. If you know what you're doing in World of Tanks, if you have mastered this game in any way, shape or form, and you've just realized what to do to, you know, do a lot of damage, or to maybe use a double bush function, maybe to stay hidden, maybe to train the best crew on certain vehicles and get the best kind of skill sets on the crew members, well, in that case, if you play lower tiers, it's basically like going after these little 4th graders while you're already in high school. You're just beating them up with, you know, your physicality while they are still being 4th graders. And that's one of the reasons why I do not like to play low tiers. I don't like to play low tiers because it's just unbalanced, it's unfair to the new players. All these new players, they have it really hard in games such as World of Tanks. Be it this, be it World of Warships, be it War Thunder. If you get into some kind of new game like that, and you get into, you know, vehicles that are low tier, but maybe other guys, like veterans of the game, are also playing because they enjoy it, because obviously it's their right to play them. I mean, you can't just lock off these vehicles to guys who had like 50,000 games just because, well, they had 50,000 games and now it's time to stop playing tier 4 and tier 5 because, well, you're obviously kind of, well, it's your good right to play that because you want to play the game and it's a part of the game, so why shouldn't you? But it is really unfair if you know what you're doing. And there are vehicles that really do underline that point. Especially when, you know, the guys that you're playing against are like stock, are like new to the game and have never really fought against a certain type of player before. And if the old veteran unit of World of Tanks always comes back in to jump into these low tiers, it's kind of, yeah, it probably destroys the new player population even more. And it's so difficult already to get new people interested in World of Tanks. And I have to say, Wargaming have done a lot in recent times to get everyone, you know, to get more people interested, because obviously it's their business model. They need to look into that. But it's difficult if there are people running around that are just, you know, playing against people that are novices and haven't really had the experience that you had. So that's my take on low tier matchmaking, but it's an entire different video, and it's a solution that we have asked for a very long time, which was maybe ranked competitive, maybe, you know, level gameplay, so everyone gets kind of a rating. I mean, they have the Wargaming rating for each player. Why not add that into the game and into matchmaking? Just give it a bit more variables, and maybe it can string together something that makes more sense. So, back to the gameplay. I haven't even talked about it. We're playing tier 5s only. This vehicle gets preferential matchmaking. You're never going to be facing tier 7s. Only tier 6 vehicles at max. And yeah, the rate of fire of this tank is absolutely brutal. It wrecks everything. It does so much damage. And you can see this is the first time we were just lit. We fired while we were kind of visible through the bush. This M8A1 managed to get right up close to us and spot us, but he is taken out of the game quite early on. We're very lucky that there is no artillery, because we can just sit in the back right here. And this is what I mean by low tier gameplay. I know what I'm doing. I have my camouflage net, I have my skills. I know that I cannot be spotted by them unless they get really close to me, because I have like almost 900 points of concealment on this vehicle. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to get me spotted. And this is a tank that just can be very well hidden. It's small, it's mobile, it can stick somewhere into little pockets of space behind a bush, and it just can sit there if the enemy players don't really know, you know, that much about camouflage and movement and spotting. I think spotting is probably the mechanic that is the most confusing in this game, and probably makes the biggest, or is kind of the most frustrating part, spotting and concealment. Because if you don't really know how it works, you are bound to run into situations where you cannot spot them, but they can shoot you, and you just get annihilated pretty damn quickly. And I think that's exactly what happened to these vehicles. They saw that they were able to breach into our defenses, into the base, but they were not able to spot me, they were not able to spot the Hetzer. The only shots that I conceded right there were because this T6, who was spotted at the time, decided to move backwards into me, and they started shooting me because I was in the line of fire, but they didn't know that I was there, because I was not spotted. So right here you can see that we have actually cleaned up quite a bit. It's a 6-on-6 engagement. The enemy team has decided to fall back, and we've already dealt a combined total damage of 2,000. That is something that I don't think should be happening with this tank, but you know, you have a rate of fire of 16 rounds per minute. That is pretty damn good, and the mobility is not so bad either. So you can see we're pushing the hill at the moment. We have quite a few tank destroyers, 4 and 2 medium tanks, but we've been spotted. We've spotted the SU-85 sitting in that bush right there, and the SU-85 is basically the direct competitor to this vehicle. A very dangerous tank as it is, and definitely a vehicle that we cannot engage on our own. So I'm waiting for the Hetzer to actually make a move. The SU-85 is rather smart, because he has the feeling that someone is coming up, because I'm not attacking him. And he sees the Hetzer, puts one into him, I put one into the SU-85, and I make my move. Now, props to the SU-85, very intelligent play. Instead of staying there, he moves forward so that I have to move in to take him out, because if I stay there and he stays there, I can just shoot at him without any kind of problem. But if he moves in, I'll have to move around the rock because I don't have a turret. So now it's a 3-on-4 engagement. This SU-85 did a pretty damn good job on that hetzer. He made the best out of the situation right there. He put a shell into me, costing me about almost 200 HP. And no, he actually put 2 shells into me, as you can see. 180 right there and 161. No, that's what I did. That's the damage I did. No, that's the damage he did. Exactly. Yeah. So, quite a bit of damage. And now we have 112 HP. You can see that some of the players are getting a bit antsy. The STRITZWAGEN. And the IK-Wagen right there is sitting there and he's trying to hold the middle. I know that at this moment in time, I have to take over. I need to get into the role of being a supportive sniping vehicle, but because if I get spotted somewhere, this is basically game over for me, because I will not be able to do anything. They'll just shoot at me, and I have 112 HP with 60 millimeters of front armor. They'll be easily able to just go right through there. So there's the KV-1. He's unfortunately behind the rock. The STRITZWAGEN is now going to get taken out probably by the KV-1. But we do spot the T-28. He is flanking around. He's the guy that shot high explosive at our back previously, but he was not able to pen me at the back. That is rather interesting. So right now it's a 2 versus 3 situation. In my head, it was vital to make sure that this IK-Wagen stays alive. But I couldn't type it into the chat, and now I've picked up APCR because I knew that I was not going to be able to pen the KV-1 without APCR. And I moved back. I used the double bush, or just the full bush right here to my advantage so that he doesn't spot me, because at this range I think even a KV-1 would have been able to see me. And now if we take a look, the last time that the Panzer III was spotted, he was right here. So we have the possibility of a vehicle that might be AFK, because nobody has spotted him since, and the game has been going on for quite a while. So now I'm asking about the Panzer III because I want to know where he is. Because if the Hetzer and the Panzer III play it smart, they can just sit at the base and see that I go over there. But since I only have 112 HP, I'm not going to be risking anything. The Hetzer decides to be a person of integrity and action, and he decides to move in. Unfortunately, he plays right into my hands. I stay at the base, I can spot him, I put a shot into him, and I do 150 damage. And he is now at medium HP, like he still has about half the HP right there. No, actually 64%. But I spot him again because I know he's going to go around that mountain and around the corner. I put a shell into him, and the rate of fire on this tank just shows you that, yeah, you don't have really to think about it. The rate of fire on this tank is, yeah, it's crazy. 16 rounds per minute. You can do so much damage with that. And we're at the damage total of 3,200. This is my second game, and I already feel bad for playing this tank, because a lot of the guys on the enemy team, they are probably new players coming to the game. Probably the Excelsior 1 and 2, both of them are new to the game because they're playing brand new vehicles, or vehicles that you kind of get like as a gift if you subscribe into World of Tanks and you use a code, like I don't know, they're like codes from different YouTubers that you can use, and you'll get like gold and premium tanks at a low tier, so you can start off a bit easier. But that's how it goes, right? So you can see all around us are dead tanks, and you can see that this has been the focal point, because around this area there are so many dead tanks. And we have sniped quite a bit, done quite a bit of damage, and at this moment in time I was thinking that if the clock goes down to 3:30, I'm going to be on the move, because I'll need a minute and 50 seconds to cap. So if I'm not able to engage the Panzer III and he's hiding somewhere behind a rock. I'll need to go to their cap and get their cap. Maybe if he's away. If he's at the cap, I'll have to be careful because I'm a 2-shot for him at the moment. Maybe a 3-shot. Nah, probably a 2-shot. Could even be a 1-shot, I think, with his 75mm gun. But it's a Panzer IIIJ, so it has like the stump for a gun, not the long 75. So I decided to go to the mountain, to the middle of the map, to the hill, get into the bush, see if I can spot anything, and then just move on the base, because I do not have enough time to sit that one out, and I really want to get the top gun. First and foremost, I think like I want to get the top gun. Secondly, I want to win the game, because yeah, why work so hard if you're just going to draw it out in the end? You know, try either a win or a loss. I don't care about a draw, because a draw means nothing in this game. And that's why I decided to go full in. I decided to go to the base because I'm not able to spot anything. So I think that the Panzer III might be on his way to our base. I spot him right there. He doesn't spot me because I have pretty damn good camouflage, and he's a tier 4 tanker that's probably new to the game, but he is AFK. So all of that tension that was building up just immediately evaporates because we have that guy right there. You can see the rate of fire. We do 3,109 damage, a total combined damage of 3,628, and yeah, it actually doesn't make any sense. Why is it 3,109, but I do have 3,628, because that doesn't add up. So something must be wrong with either the assistance damage or with the actual damage. I either did 100 damage too much or 100 damage too little, because the numbers just do not add up somehow. Yeah, either way, it was a good game. The SU-85I really made it work in the end. And now we're going to get the conclusion about this tank. We're going to take a look at some of the pros and cons about this vehicle. We're going to be talking about the reason why you would pick up this tank, and if it's worth it, if it does pop up the next time around. So I'll be there in a second. So we're getting to the conclusion now. You should be able to see a couple of graphs right now, or maybe not graphs. I'm gonna see what I'm gonna be putting in there, but we're gonna be taking a look at the pros and cons of the SU-85I. We're gonna start with the pro line. This vehicle has an incredibly high rate of fire, even for a tier 5 tank. 16 rounds per minute is pretty damn crazy. It has very good camouflage. It's a tank destroyer. It can go into camo very quickly. You saw that in the gameplay previously. It has decent mobility. It'll get you from one to another point pretty damn quickly. You just need to maybe plan ahead a little bit, because your acceleration might not be the best. It has preferential matchmaking, which probably is a buy point for a lot of people already. If you think about the KB5, I think preferential matchmaking is basically what makes that vehicle even possible. And lastly, for myself, now this is a very fun tank. I enjoy playing it. I enjoy playing it against tier 6 vehicles. I enjoy playing it against a couple of tier... oh, wait 1 second, that's too fast. I enjoy playing it against tier 5 vehicles, and I think it looks very unique as well. So, what are the cons of this tank? It doesn't have the best accuracy or the best pen. 119mm at tier 5 for a tank destroyer is a bit underwhelming in my opinion, but usually it's not going to be the biggest downside of this tank. Then the armor of this vehicle with 60mm at the front is not the best, but you cannot expect a lot more of a Soviet hybrid of a Panzer III. And lastly, the availability and the price of this tank usually are a bit of a downer. And that's one of the reasons why I can't fully recommend this tank. This tank usually comes in a bundle with either a lot of golds or by opening a lot of crates. So if you really want to get the SU-85, you'll have to look into that if you get lucky with maybe tank rewards, which I did and I got it, or if you are able to, you know, get it for just a single tank price. So in conclusion, this tank is a fun vehicle at tier 5. You will never face any tier 7 opponents, so that frustration is already getting out of the engine firsthand. This vehicle is great for people who enjoy stealth, who enjoy the E25, because this tank is similar to the E25 in a lot of its characteristics. It has no armor. It's kind of fast, maybe not as fast as the E25, but it has a gun that has a pretty damn crazy rate of fire, not with a lot of pen, and you're going to be spamming gold if you really want to be extremely competitive with this tank. It's basically a must-have for tank collectors because it's a unique vehicle, and if you compare it to other tanks, yeah, unique tanks are just a creed for all the tank collectors. And the last thing is that you'll spend eternal time in hell for playing a vehicle such as this, for going straight out there to seal club little new players that have just entered into World of Tanks. Yeah, but at the same time I gotta say, maybe if the tank is out as a bundle, if it's available for sale for, you know, I don't know, 80 bucks, do not get the tank. Spend your money wisely. Buy a tier 8 tank destroyer, a premium for the Russians, the SU-130PM, because in the long time, or in the long term, you'll be receiving a lot more credits and experience from that than playing this vehicle at tier 5. It's not worth the price tag of $100. It's only worth it if it's only available for itself, or if you can get it for free in one of these events. So my final rating would be an 8 out of 10 for basically all the players that enjoy playing the stealthy tank destroyer with a high rate of fire with a small caliber gun. And it is certainly a buy if available for a reasonable amount, maybe $15, not more than that probably, because it's a tier 5 premium tank. But do not buy if it's only available in a bundle. That would finish up this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. This is kind of a new style I'm trying to make. Let's see if it works out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.